Oh,
Yes, I'm trying to. Can't you hear me?
I'm gonna have to go. Hold on. I have to hold on. I have to talk to you on another device. Hold on.
Hello?
You're echoing.
Hold on. Hello?
Yes, that's better.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Hmm.
Um, so I just wrote an article. It's in the description about boycotting India and Hindu stuff.
May I suggest you change the title to something less likely to attract accusations of hate speech?
Not yet. If this gets taken down, you know, I'll deal with it. But um, yeah. I mean, I've had bad stuff up before, like calling people, whatever. Um, um, yeah. So the thing is that I mean, I've really been ringing this Hindu bell, right? That there's a problem. And they're really taking over the financial system. They own more property in London than British people. They are actually the number one property owners in in London, and they own all the businesses. They're taking over business in general, CEOs, um, banking, finance, speculation, all these different kinds of things. And also, they're gaining control of the financial system. They're creating bricks, getting away from the Americans. And, because they're distributed all around the world, they can act like a banking cartel, right? They can act like a cartel and manipulate things for their own desires. And this is what everyone accuses Jews of. But Hindus actually purposely and openly copy Jews in a lot of things that they do.
Hmm.
Um, they copy Jews in how they present their civil rights kind of things, and their civil rights organizations are all partnered with Jewish organizations. And they're basically, they're also taking over the media. They're taking over high positions in the West, in science too, and all these different kinds of things. And we're going to really lose control. And even though they're a minority, they're only 1% of America. um, they still have way disproportionate amounts of control and cannot be really trusted at all. And, you know, this is what I have to keep telling people. If these people did to white people what white people did to them, we would want revenge.
Hmm.
You would want revenge. It's just natural. Look, I'm going after heterosexuals and the Jehovah's Witnesses. I want revenge. Okay? Like, I want revenge, but I admit it. I don't like do it. Everyone wants revenge, but some people are just cowardly about it. They're not open about it. Like Hindus and Jews are not like openly gonna go and say we want revenge. You know what I mean? But um, it's just they're gonna get revenge. They're gonna get it. And I'm telling you, they are like so happy to see the White West dying. I hear them talk. I mean, you see how they talk online and making fun of like white people dying out and becoming gay and more feminism and all this other kind of stuff and how they're the next big thing. India is the third world largest economy. We're about to take over. We own England because of Rishi Sunak as the prime minister. If Vivek Ramaswamy gets in, then we're going to own America. They're just very fucking arrogant about it. And so,
And white people are not doing anything about it.
yeah, I know they're not. And, that's the big problem. And, that's why I'm saying right now I'm trying to get an economic boycott of anything Hindu and anything India. You know what I mean?
You'll need to use the Muslims to do it because they are the most powerful group.
Yeah, and the Christians. And we have to get both the Muslims and the Christians to boycott them because I said we have to let Christians know that if that in India there's violence against Christians, and these Indian Hindus just absolutely hate Christians. So
Violence against Muslims?
yes, so let's just all boycott them together.
And abolish idolatry. Sorry, usury. Ban usury.
Well, that would end Hindu financial domination, but it has to be. Yeah, we have to end Hindu financial domination, and I don't know about banning usury, but I said boycott their restaurants.
It would end Jewish domination too, if you think Jews are the bankers.
Yes, it would.
Even Gentiles, because the way usury operates through the fractional reserve banking is that you trade on margin. It's like futures market. I don't know if you understand how it works. So basically, you pay a deposit for a delivery of, I don't know, wheat, I don't know, however many tons or bushels or however they count it, and you say it's mine now, and the market agrees. And if you don't sell your contract in the meantime, you will get delivery of this, I don't know, however many beef carcasses or whatever it was that you're supposed to order. And this is the danger of trading on margin, because people gamble on the futures market thinking, well, if the price goes up and I'm betting on it going up, then I win more than my original stake. But if the market goes the wrong way, you lose your entire stake plus whatever it was. It's the difference between what you would agree to pay for the final shipment. I don't know if I explained correctly, but anyway, it is a gamble, and usually works on this system. It's like you own a house and you only pay the deposit. If you understand this reasoning, so that is how bubbles form and burst. The boom bust cycle is because of this kind of financial activity. People buying things that they don't really want in order to invest in it, and with money they don't have because they only borrowed to pay for the deposit, expecting to make a killing on the final sale of the property. And this explains a boom bust cycle, which is actually very, very unstable. Lots of rich people get killed by it too. I mean, there's this famous cartoon of all these, Wall Street traders jumping from tall buildings, when they thought that the market had gone against them, and they were going to be ruined. So it can ruin a lot, of course, hyperinflation in Weimar Germany. And the whole point of a more stable financial system is that you get more responsible borrowing and lending. Because, under the Islamic joint venture system, the idea is that you only invest in something if you really think it's going to work. You're not thinking, oh, it doesn't matter, about this stupid venture of this person asking for money from me, the bank, because if they lose, if their business goes under, I can get their house. So under the system, it is actually in the interest of the bankers that their customers go bust, that their customers' business go bust, And actually, there have been scandals in the Royal Bank of Scotland that bankers actually encourage people to invest in things that are going to go wrong, so they can collect on their security on their house when it goes wrong. So there's a lot of corrupt and economically damaging activity that happens because of usury. I'm not saying that it can't go on under the table, but if you generally discourage it, then the economy would be more stable. I know it's unimaginable for you and many others because they think that is usury is the foundation of Western affluence. And I think it took a while for it to play out, because it was John Calvin who actually said usury is okay as long as the interest rate is low. And I think that was really what commended him to the Swiss, because he was actually a Frenchman, and he worked in, he resided in Geneva, and he was selling this idea to Swiss bankers who said, great, if we can get your approval as a theologian to practice fractional reserve banking, then our fortunes are made. And that's why he was in Switzerland. He didn't stay around in France.
Because France was Catholic.
Yes, and they couldn't allow it. But now they allow everything. Once upon a time, Christians were very strict about monogamy as well as usury. And Martin Luther was very, very firm about not approving of usury. It was only John Calvin who said, oh, you can, a little bit of usury does nobody any harm, and it was all right for a few centuries. But but it's us that it's been played out on. Because if you keep raising the debt ceiling, eventually your lenders will know that you're never going to pay it back, and then they'll say, well, we're not going to lend you anymore because you clearly can't pay it back. We're going to collect now, whatever assets you have. Oh, you haven't got any assets. Well, we'll just have to make you our slaves. I mean, this is what the Chinese do I think in Africa or even South America. They offer to do all kinds of infrastructure projects, and they say, oh, you can't pay. Oh, never mind. Can you just as long as you give us the use of your ports or whatever it is that they want? Because eventually, if you over borrow and can't pay back, you will end up a slave, and it applies to countries, not just individuals. But yes, it took about 250 years or more than that for the harm of usury to play out. I mean, it was actually the Chinese who discovered paper money. And yes, it worked quite well. Everybody was happy that they could just create money out of thin air. And then they abused the system, and their economy also crashed and burned. But it is a behavioral addiction. Of course, you can't resist creating money out of thin air. You just shake the money tree. But there's so many times you can shake it without it, falling over. But anyway, I mean, the whole point of secular Quranism is that individuals and governments can then default on their loans and say, right, as long as you pay back the principal, we're not paying anymore, and we're just going to just treat all these usurious contracts as, illegal contracts. And then we're going to rebase our currency, we're going to start again. But, loans won't be cancelled as long as the principal has been paid off. And a lot of, people who borrow money paid off the principal a long time ago. They just can't keep with the compounding of the interest.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but okay. I mean, I don't think that necessarily this is how we're going to destroy Hindu power in the West. And I don't think, I told you, Okay, Muslims. Okay, the Muslim position is that capitalism is so is a lot of exploitation. Let's see who's here. Somebody's here. Somebody's come to talk. Oh, nobody's here. That is so exploitative, and I'm not saying it's not, but I'm a little bit okay. You're scared of doing new things. I'm scared that what if it's worse if we ban usury?
Well, we don't know. Of course, people are going to say it's a leave in the dark. It's never happened before. You know, yeah, I'm saying, of course, it's going to be risky. But I'm just telling you how it's supposed to work in theory,
All right, so
and how it
you're
might
allowed to be
appeal
risky.
to people, especially governments and individuals who are over their heads in debt. I think that would appeal to them. Don't you think?
You're allowed to be risky, but no one else, anyone else who mentions something risky, it's like, oh, it's never been tried before, and what if it's worse? And we don't know, and it's so radical. And yet you're doing probably something 10 times more risky, never been done before, radical, and you're just telling us to go along with this. And your back plan, if it doesn't work, is slavery.
Well, it's always slavery. I mean, the fact is, we are all the slaves of our governments. That's already a given. Of course, the governments can just say, take our staff and tax us and, throw us in jail and all that sort of thing. They've always been able to do that. And even under secular Quranism, I mean, obviously it's a government that's enforcing all the laws. But I'm saying it'll be fairer, so people are not going to, rebel against it. Once everything settles down, people will think, yes, it makes sense. It does make our lives more predictable, and that's what we want about it. And I've just explained to you why it would be fair. I mean, usury is divisive. I mean, we already know it's not a good thing because Jews are forbidden to do it to each other. And the bad thing is that, obviously the people with a capital will have so much more money than the people without capital, and there will be vast income differences and wealth inequality, and this is what causes division and anger, and this is what we have now. I mean, that's why people, get paranoid about these evil multi-billionaires who are, going to change their world in their own image. Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and all these people who can, obviously, buy an entire government with their income. But at least the Chinese sorted out Jack Ma and broke up his businesses because they thought he was becoming too much of a danger and you know, too much of a monopoly. Because they see the danger. Because if somebody controls everything, they're bound to exploit their position. As social media platforms do, like YouTube. It's like, we're the biggest. If you don't like it, go to Rumble, where nobody will listen to you, or Odyssey, or anywhere else.
Well, they
I mean,
are
that's why you have antitrust laws, right, in America. Not that your governments enforce it because they're too scared to do it. In Britain, we have the Mergers and Monopolies Commission. But no, they don't, enforce it either. Because, obviously their politicians, their ruling classes are bought and paid for by the neocons and neoliberals. But the logic of my system is basically, even when we talk about in an ideal world, if I mean, we are kind of reaching out to God, whether we know it or not. Because the whole idea is that there is justice in the world. We just haven't received it yet, and the test is how we deal with it when we don't get justice. Do we commit more injustice to, be on the side of the evildoers, or do we fight injustice? And if we fight injustice, do we not get rewarded? Perhaps after we are dead, but then we have to believe that, you know, there is life after death, and good will be rewarded and evil punished. It is this belief system that makes people prepared to sacrifice their property and their reputation and their lives even.
Do you know who Mike Adams is?
No?
Have you ever heard of Brighteon?
What's that? No.
Okay, Brighteon is a growing Mike Adams. Brighteon is a new up and coming right wing website that is like, you know, conspiracy theory, pseudoscience, you know, Trump, you know, right wing, typical mediocre middle class thing, and it's growing in popularity, but it's very anti-Zionist and very anti-Zionist. And the guy, not just that they allow anti-Zionist material on their website, but the guy who runs it, Mike Adams, I think that's who runs it. I'm trying to look right now. Wait, hold on. Let me just look at this one thing. News with Adam is like the founder Mike Adams, who owns several questionable websites such as Natural News, Sand News, Target, Natural News Network. Okay, so he's not an unattractive man. He has a good presentation, and but he's extremely anti-Zionist, and this is actually a kind of popular website. My father listens to it, and you know, my father's anti-vax, COVID conspiracy. Not that that was a total conspiracy, but you know, right wing, you know, just basically almost not totally paint by numbers, but you know, close to paint by numbers, middle of the road, kind of like a classical conservative person. And the thing is, it's becoming more mainstream, and you know, people report on it like anti-hate websites and stuff. But my father's been listening to anti-Zionist material from them. And actually, Mike Adams hosted Dr. Shiva. Do you know who he is?
Carol seems quite keen on him.
Well, he's very anti-Zionist, like rabidly. You know what I mean? He's like, you know, it's not just like passive anti-Zionism. You know, it's not like, oh, the Palestinians are being killed, and you know, it's like, you know, they're in total control, financial control, like almost not exactly Protocols of the Elders of Zion, but close to it. And what was I saying? I forget. Oh, that he interviewed him, and you know, he interviewed him, and I don't, you know, I know it's not unpopular. Yeah, he's a handsome guy, and he's not. He's not. You saw him? You looked him up?
Yes. Do you want to play something by him? Have you watched?
Oh wait, who's this captain? Who's Uncle Barry?
Yo ho, Vincent. I've heard you've been organizing gangbangs with Claire.
No, we haven't been.
No.
No.
I heard that secular Quranism means that you have to have a gangbang today, Vincent.
No, though there was a homosexual Quranist in here the other day.
Claire told me that for secular Quranism to work, you would have to be gangbanged in front of an audience of 3 people, which she would film and watch at a later date.
No, it
No, I
couldn't be
didn't say
filmed because
that.
then more than one person would see it at a time and I would get
I did say
arrested.
that to him.
You'll be arrested?
Yeah,
Good.
I'd be arrested for having sex in front of more than 3 men.
Well, what do you think about Claire having a gangbang on camera? She wanted to do. She told me earlier she
Oh,
wanted to
nobody
do
wants
that.
to see that.
Well, no,
Well,
obviously.
okay, she's allowed to do it as long as she doesn't get pregnant.
Well, no, I don't think that's going to happen, Vincent.
No, there is no.
That ship has
recorded
sailed
porn.
many moons ago, Vincent.
There is no recorded porn allowed.
No.
So maybe if you want to kind of draw it from your imagination or.
Well, I don't
read
want to watch that
erotica.
disgusting shit, Claire.
Okay, so well, there is no recorded porn.
Well, this was our conversation earlier today. Stephen played the clip of you talking about it, didn't he?
Well, I think he misunderstood. What I was saying that live sex shows could be legal if no more than 3 viewers. There are no more than 3.
You're stuttering and stammering again, Claire. Do I take the breath out of your lungs, Claire, when I come around?
No more than 3 members in the audience, and it would be legal.
Would it be legal? This is how you promote your degeneracy, is it?
I just want to make degenerates feel comfortable.
You're stuttering again. Degenerates. Why are you stammering, Claire? Say it with pride.
Secular Quranism is degenerate friendly.
Is it now? Now, what would the Taliban think of your secular Quranism?
Well, they're in Afghanistan, aren't they?
Yes,
they
are.
Dealing with it.
I'm glad you know your geography, Claire.
I do.
So, Claire, when are you going to have a gangbang? When are you organising it with Vincent Bruno?
I'm not organising any gangbangs. I'm saying if any.
You did, Claire. We already established earlier. You spent 40 hours.
As long as there are no more than 3 members in the audience, they can. It would be legal under secular Quranism.
Claire, we established you wanted to make Vincent Bruno the gangbang gay boy of secular Quranism. We said earlier today. Have you forgotten?
Of gay rights under secular Quranism.
You've forgotten our conversation from earlier today.
Under secular Quranism.
Sounds pretty fucking degenerate to me, Claire.
Well, I am trying to be degenerate friendly. I don't want them.
Oh, you're trying to be a degenerate. I don't think you're trying. I think you are. Claire.
Okay, if they want to think that I'm a bit degenerate, then okay. I mean.
Are you feeling flustered, Claire?
No.
You feeling hot under the collar?
Not at all.
Not at all.
It's -1.
Yeah, but you're stuttering and stammering. You can't even get a sentence out, my lassie.
I think people understand clearly what I'm saying.
Nah, in between the pauses.
Well, as long as I am understood, the occasional stuttered word will not detract from the meaning of my words.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, Claire, you give yourself 5 minutes to compose yourself, and I'll talk to Vincent while you do whatever you have to do, okay?
Well, actually, I did want to, so let's go back. Do you have any concerns about, where do you live? Are you in London? I know you're putting on an accent, but are you British and in London?
I'm a pirate. I go wherever the 7 seas take me, Vincent.
Well, I don't know if you saw, but Indians, and that means Hindus, because they're, mostly Hindus, now own more property in London than British people do. And in America, they are now the wealthiest religious group, even more wealthy than Jews. And, they're getting into banking and the financial system and taking over everything and becoming CEOs and own all these businesses. And
Vincent, I'm a pirate. What do I give a shit about what landlubbers do?
Okay, so you don't want a serious conversation.
Do I sound like I want a serious conversation, Vincent?
No, well then you don't belong on my stream if you don't want a serious conversation.
Oh, you're saying that with a smile on your face. I can hear it, Vincent.
Well,
what would I care about what Hindus do, Vincent?
Because they're taking over the West economically.
Well, it's better than them smelly sand people in Pakistan, isn't it?
Well, why don't we have control of it and not Zionist Noahidist Hindu with Hindus?
Well, Vincent, if it was up to me, I would make everywhere white. But I'm on the seven seas, so that's not my concern. I turn my back on scurvy landlubbers like yourself. I think it's better that Hindus own the world than gays.
Well, I care to differ, and
I know you do, because you're gay, Vincent.
I'm
You're
gonna
obsessed with it.
do everything. Not just that. Okay, like I probably talk about that. I talk about the Noahide laws and Hindus and Christian Science and Jehovah's Witnesses way more than I talk about gay stuff.
But is there anything to you? Is there anything more of substance than gay stuff? Because you only don't like them people because they don't like gays.
No,
Is there anything
what about
that is more than
idolatry?
just being gay?
What about idolatry and blasphemy? I have other problems with them besides the gay stuff.
You don't care about adultery. You're married and you
No,
fuck men every day.
idolatry. I said idolatry.
Oh, the idolatry? What do you care about that shit for?
Because I'm an idolater.
Why do you care what sand people do and say, Vincent?
Well, because they, make it hard for idolaters, and I don't want their religion coming here.
Well, who cares what they think? Don't you know that Indian people are Aryans?
It's what they do.
Yeah, that's what Muslims do as well. That's what brown people do, Vincent.
I know they do, but so yes, I'm concerned about the anti-idolatry and anti-blasphemy, not just the anti-gay stuff.
But I don't think Hindus care about blasphemy, do they?
They care. Well, no, some of them do, yes. But the thing about the Hindus is that they're soft polytheists, so they're really monotheists, and they're
not monotheists. That's ridiculous. They're Hindus. They believe in many gods.
No, they're soft polytheists. They're
not.
They don't.
You're delusional.
They don't believe in hard polytheism. They don't believe the gods are separate and distinct. It's all one god.
No, it's not, Vincent.
No, they don't. I've gotten to a million fights with these people. They don't believe in polytheism. They are going Noahide because, number one, they are monotheism and they want to be viewed as non-idolatrous, and they want the higher status of being accepted by Jews and not being
Vincent,
idol worshippers.
Has anybody ever told you that you give them a headache when you talk?
Well, you're the first one to put it exactly that way.
Yes. It's just nonsense. Endless bullshit. Day in, day out bullshit.
Well, it's actually something of real world substance rather than
it's not. It's not real world substance. It's you ranting on the internet to one viewer. It's bullshit.
So you think the Noahide laws don't exist?
I just don't care. I just don't care.
Okay, if you don't care, then why are you on here on my show? And
why am I on here to rape and pillage the world, Vincent? Starting with your stream.
Okay, I'm getting rid of you.
No, Vincent, you can't kick me. I'll make you walk the plank, you scurvy landlubber.
Okay, enough of that. Claire, are you here?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know what that was about, but...
Well, we have a bit of a following. Maybe he's a kind of clone of Pebble Muncher.
Yeah,
no. A different routine.
Yeah.
He's a pebble beard, so I think it might be related.
Maybe. He could be. But, the thing is that this is, look, I don't like with these white right men that they just come on and their main contention is, why do you care about any of this? Well, why are you listening to me if you don't care?
Well, I think they do care a bit. I mean, we must have piqued their interest for them to want to mock us. I mean, at least they remember something of what we've been saying, if only to disagree with it. And every time they ask silly questions, you just answer them. Because obviously they want to listen to our answer because they asked it. And probably there's a few of them, watching, to see what the exchange was like. I mean, he's obviously from the Cube, isn't he?
Yeah, because I posted the link in the Cube.
There you go.
I posted the link in the Cube to see if anyone wanted to come on. And, we have to just, unfortunately, these are kind of like big problems that are going on. But, this is why Hindus are taking over. This
Well,
is,
because white men are stupid and weak.
yes, and
That's
everything's a
okay.
joke and everything's fooling around. Oh, Pebble Muncher said I threw him off. That it is Pebble Muncher.
I told you.
Well, the thing is that, what is this? Porn? What is this? Oh, I don't know what that is. Um, um, yeah, I mean, Hindu men. My only hope for with the corruption of Hindu men right now is that they're a little bit less principled in. Okay, religious Hindu men, yes, do commit less adultery, do have sex less, do curse less and drink less and all that kind of stuff like Muslim men do. Um, non-religious Hindus are not like that, but a religious Hindu is kind of like a religious Muslim. If you see a Hindu man wearing traditional Hindu markings on his head, he's probably more like a Muslim, anti-gay, more misogynistic, um, um, socially conservative and things like that. But why was I bringing this up? I was bringing this. Oh, but the only thing is that, so that's the type of Hindu I'm more scared of, right? More so than the wishy-washy liberal Hindu who's like smoking crack. Um, but the only hope that I have now, the older ones, the older generation are actually scary, even though they're dying out, because they organize and they meet and they're in the politics and all this other kind of stuff. But thank God these younger right-wing Hindus are following the bad example of right-wing white men, and everything is trolling and everything is memeing and not really kind of like going out and protesting, not organizing huge meetings, being more kind of like anti getting involved in the government. Everything's a joke and just like blunt, like, fuck you. We're racist, misogynistic assholes. Like um that type of thing is spreading in the Hindu right. So that's making them weak. You know what I mean? And unless they start going no hide, and then that would kind of straighten them out and make them more dangerous. And I know there's Hindus that want that to happen, that alliance to happen. But yeah, I mean Muslim young men are probably the scariest because I see them online and I know that there's Muslims that shitpost and I know there's Muslims that are silly and dumb and stuff like that. But I think overall young Muslim men have it together a little bit more. And I do think, young Muslim men are looking to gain power in the West. And so they're not on there posting racist shit because they want to get into politics and they don't want to alienate a voting base. You know what I mean? They actually have an agenda to get into the White House, and these white men have no agenda to get in the White House or to be, get public office or to really rise that high in the economic system or show their face. So, they don't mind just spewing racism all day online and not getting anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it is scary that, I don't particularly feel good talking to Khalid because it shows me, Khalid can have a decent conversation and that's really dangerous.
Yes, I know what you mean. And he can, well, will argue with you about things, and that is why the dissident right don't really like talking to people opposed to them, because they know they they can't formulate decent counter arguments. I mean, did you watch my stream afterwards, after Khaled's stream? I
I
streamed
saw
it
you
on
were talking.
Twitter.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I saw you posted something with you in Khalid.
Yes, and basically, Jay rage quit because in the end he knew he didn't really have anything other than, oh, why aren't you Muslim if you're going to promote their shitty religion, and it's like he said it ever since he knew me, and it's well, it's boring and nobody cares anymore. You can't think of any new lines of attack other than I'm not Muslim, but I say secular Quranism is for non-Muslims. So you know, so they're just they're just saying things for the sake of taking up your time. That's the best they can do now, and then they can insult you before they rage quit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And the thing is, with Stephen and Duvid, we mustn't forget about Duvid, because I think Duvid would be horrified if he went on a date with some woman, she seduced him, and 3 months later she says, "Oh, Duvid, I'm carrying your baby." I mean, I think he just won't have anything to do with women because he doesn't want them to disturb his peace.
Tamara Lyra says she can't hear Claire. I can hear Claire. And Rock Muncher and Christine Ramsey, if you're still watching, or if anyone else is still watching, can you please tell me if you can hear Claire? I don't know why you would be able. I can hear her. Tamara, might be something wrong with on your end, but yeah. I mean, the thing is that it's just, I'm not scared of them. I'm not worried. It's a little bit sad. It's a little bit sad because it really is like these are the last hope of the white race. Is this like the very
Is this
last?
the best we have? And I think they're kind of saying yes. This is the best we have, and we're retiring.
That's really sad. That's real sad.
I mean, even Stephen, I think, he just wanted to do his pity party thing. Oh, it's so sad. We're going to be reduced to zoo specimens. And it's like, well, if you really want to avoid that, we'll just have to marry, and then you have to make marriage safe for men, abolish no fault divorce, and say a few things that will be boring, because obviously none of his viewers will care about him. Want him to talk about the abolition of no fault divorce, because they're not interested in getting married. So of course they're not interested in no fault divorce. And then they'll I guess they'll cancel him for being serious and autistic, and then he's not going to not be streaming as a YouTuber who is providing entertainment and picking up a few super chats here and there. It's his identity as a grifter. It's like the best thing that's happened to him is that he reached 1,000 viewers, and he's got all these people listening to him, and if he says anything they don't like, they'll unsubscribe. And in a way, he's just as corrupt as the politicians he complains about.
Yeah, I mean, his
YouTubers. They're not interested in solving the problem. They're interested in collecting super chats and giving their audience what they want, which is more of the same. Like, they are not interested in having a debate about what to do, whether the problem I say is a problem. They are just as corrupt as the politicians they complain about.
Well, fuck them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what else to say.
And they like to mock us for having so few viewers. But actually, I think it's a matter of time before everybody realizes that we're the only ones discussing ideas. I mean, can you think of a better exchange of ideas than what we have with each other? Is there anybody else talking to each other?
Well, they're not talking to each other about anything that will get them anywhere. You're right, it's all just complaining and racism and disunity and backstabbing and backbiting, like that whole fucking, oh my god, that whole Tommy Robinson, Laura Southern, Milo, that other guy, that whole nexus of the right that were all united in that little clique. And back, in the Trump days or whenever that was happening, they all were so horrible to each other and treated each other like absolute garbage and backbite and wrote articles about each other and stole from each other. And, it was horrible. The way that they treat each other is just disgusting.
And it just shows how weak they are, and this will encourage their enemies. The more divided you are, the more your enemies will be encouraged to plot and scheme against you. And either they don't understand because they're so stupid, or they really don't care. And anyway, they haven't got a solution. And I think, in that circle, anybody with a solution just gets shot down. That's why nobody dares to propose a solution other than their fantasy one of, when the law breaks down and we will have our revenge. The thing is, you can't kick anybody out unless you're in government anyway.
Yeah, and they think that they're all going to not have positions in the government and not have positions in infrastructure and all this other kind of stuff, and that supposedly everything's going to collapse, and you don't own the army, you don't own the state, you don't own anything. How are you going to they think that they're just going to form these like militias that are going to go out and like kill people. And you know what I mean? They can't even, or they're not. Look, if you really wanted, let's say that was your plan, you would have to be doing like privately put together non-government military parades like all the time in different cities in order to practice. And you would need to like go out into fields and march and practice with your guns and or camp and
hike.
Yes, and all that kind of stuff. You would need to kind of like have like what the Nazis had prior to having control of the government. They had a private army, didn't they? They had the SA. The SA was not a government association. The SA was a private army of Hitler's. And, that's the only reason that they were really able to do what they wanted to do. And there is no private army of these men. And this other idea of just all going out into the farms and, you're not going to be practicing that way. You're all going to be living too far away from each other. If you're out in the country, there's not even going to be enough of you to create any kind of, formal militia. And what are you going to take over? The countryside? Is that what you're going to like, and in 10 years, you're not going to be having any kids. You're going to be older. Everyone's going to be, in their, look, the people that I was talking to, so I'm 40. So let's say the people I was talking to 10 years ago were 18. So now, when I was 30, let's say I was talking to 18-year-olds, maybe let's say 15-year-olds. So now they're 25. So I don't think any of them are having kids in the next 10 years. So let's say in 10 years from now, they're 35 and there's no younger generation coming up out of them. Like, you start to kind of get tired around 35. You kind of start to, you're getting older a little bit. I mean, you're not dead, but, it's like, and none of them, it's not like they're rugged men. It's not like these are mountain men, rugged men. Like, I really fail to believe that all these men that are online talking shit can shoot a gun. You think they can all shoot guns?
No. Well, I mean, they might have their sort of 10 guns to shoot at targets in their video games, maybe.
You think any of them could like endure harsh environment? Like, you think they could like be out in the elements And, you know, do you really think any of them could be out in the elements and all cold and shit?
Well, they just wouldn't turn up, would they? I mean, they would come
No.
to work. You know, they find some. You know, I'm mentally ill. I'm autistic. I'm feeling a bit depressed today, or something like that.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't turn out for and of course anyone that even tried to assemble an army would be autistic, a Fed, a Jew, right?
Yes.
So let's say that someone was intelligent enough to say, hey, if we really want to take over, we need to start military parades and, you know, get everyone whipped up and draw in the men to our military parades and get them marching with us and stuff. And if somebody did that, they would be called autistic and Jewish and a Fed, don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who has any capability is autistic, Jewish, and a Fed in order to these people.
You know, do you sometimes think everything is just so perfect because God exists? I mean, the fact that we are telling them off is the icing on the cake. They're so degenerate that they need a gay person and a woman to tell them off, and they have no answer.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of, well, look, I mean, straight white men fuck themselves over. They put themselves in this position. So maybe there's something wrong with them inherently. And, you know, they can't, you know, they can't make it work.
I mean, what I was trying to say to Stephen before they all kind of ran away was that um, okay, it started with Stephen saying, "Oh, but we can't say anything without getting cancelled." And I said, "Look, it's actually not illegal to be an anti-Semite or an Islamophobe." But then and Jay and Stephen said, "Oh, he mustn't call us that. He mustn't call us that." I said, "Oh, yes, I have to call you that because you're rejecting the only thing that could actually work. So I'm afraid I have to call you that because it is true, and you hate me calling you that because you can't think of arguments against." My accusation, you can't actually defend yourself, and that's why you hate it so much. Oh, we can't say anything about. And I said, well, what about your parents and this Thomas Barton Reese thing? Um, did you hear? Um, what's her name? Something 33. Um, was talking to Stephen, and she said she knew Thomas Barton Reese and his parents, and 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 it and Thomas is always complaining about his mother, and I thought, what about his father? Why doesn't his father? He never talks about his father. It's as if he's an absent father, never says anything. And then I thought of Stephen, and he always says,
Back.
"Oh, I can't talk to my
Oh,
parents;
you
they're
used
just
the right.
normies."
No, I didn't. Yeah, no. I mean, what about his father? His father's not there, and what?
Okay, this is Thomas Barton Reese's father. He never mentions his father, and he complains about his mother stealing. Sorry, getting rid of his stockpile of
What?
food during COVID, and okay, this is something that he's very angry with his parents for because they basically just threw all his food out without consulting him, and he stockpiled in his own bedroom because they thought he was being silly about COVID and everything. Um, but he's always complaining about his mother. It's like his father doesn't exist, and then it made me think of Stephen's father, and Stephen said, "Oh, my parents are just normies. I can't talk to them," and I said, "Well, you know, you can't actually blame the media for stopping you from communicating with your father." Because that's certainly allowed. We're allowed to make phone calls. We can talk about all kinds of things as family members, and Stephen was kind of running out of excuses. Oh, the culture, because of the culture, we feel even guilty for thinking certain things, and the excuses came thick and fast. It's like, yeah, so you can still say it, except that you might forfeit um, sexual access to a few women who will think it's like, make that sacrifice, make your point. But for people like Jay, it would be stupid to deprive himself of sexual access to women who believe in stupid things. Because he's not even going to tell them off. Because, he judges his success with sexual access to these women.
Who does, Jay?
Jay, well, not just Jay, but men like them. Men like Jay, right? I didn't get, fucks this month because I said things that offended the feminists, and so I'm stupid. And I'm not going to be stupid, I'm going to fuck any slut who'll let me, and obviously I won't be telling the truth about what I think about feminism. And I think self-censorship is far more insidious than official censorship. And the fact is that they're actually self-censoring to their own children, or even to their own parents. So one of the things that this woman, I forget her name now, 1333, I think it was, she was saying that Thomas feels he can't talk to his parents because they're just unable to have a conversation on these matters. And then I was thinking of my middle class friends and the way they treated me at some gathering, in the summer, and I thought, it's like, you don't have to warn your son about me. He's a graduate. Surely he can think for himself. But it was like, it's like, Claire's all right, but you really have to watch what she says. And
Who said this?
This is a contemporary of mine with a son who isn't a child. He's been to university. And they were queuing up for food at the buffet, and he was talking about me, and he didn't know I was just right behind him queuing up for food too. So I heard what he was saying to his son, and I thought, well, I was actually being reasonable. Well, I thought I was being. I don't think I was saying anything weird, at the table. But the way he was behaving suggested I was, the way he was trying to warn his son about me, and and then I was thinking of this other friend of mine who's, function, whose, party it was, and she she doesn't want politics being discussed, and then I was thinking of this other person who knows her, well, her sister actually, saying, I haven't had a proper conversation with, my family for years. I can't discuss these things. And I know she's really bothered about immigration and Muslims and stuff. And I think the frustration she's expressing is towards her own family, and that she can't talk to her family either, and she can't talk to her son either. Because, the son is like, shh, you can't say this. I mean, I think this is, I don't think this is even unusual.
I know, you have to withdraw, look, I mean, I always refer back to them, but, the Jehovah's Witnesses tell you have to withdraw from these people. You can't, if you want to be, totally committed and you want to speak your real mind, if this is what you really believe, people are going to reject you, and you can't cling to these relationships. And, you just have to, and if that means being alone, you just have to be alone. And, you just have to sacrifice. And, I mean, most people in the West, that's the other problem. If you're right wing, you don't want to show your face, and or you don't. Why don't you want to show your face, and why don't you want to say these things in public? Because you want to keep your friends, because you don't want to be isolated. Well, then stop complaining. You know what I mean? You're never.
Yeah, I mean, and Carol is one of them. I mean, I got so angry with her, because I know she deletes her tweets. It's like, you're already an anonymous account. Why the hell do you fucking have to delete your tweets as well? It's just sort of cowardice upon cowardice upon cowardice. It's like, people don't, I mean, it's just so unreal that I just couldn't get over it. And of course, she's always, deleting her videos and whatever. you know. And actually, I'm reminded of this woman on Twitter. It was years ago, and she would delete her tweets, every day. And so, if you looked at her account, there's just nothing at all. But when she was tweeting, it would be, quite bold, because she was afraid, obviously. And this, I think, is a neurosis that needs to be addressed, because actually I think these people are the majority, but because they're so cowardly, nobody thinks they are the majority. In fact, I saw this post on LinkedIn yesterday, and it said, with great insight, I thought, that the role of the media is to make everyone think that the views of only 10% of the population is the view of 80% of the population. Something like that. So we are the majority, except that they've just been so terrified that they absolutely refuse to talk about it. So I think most people.
Well, look, more than 50% of people in America agree with gay marriage. So I don't necessarily think people that think like homophobes are like the majority. I don't think most people that would be posting anti-homosexual are the majority. I think maybe they're 50%, but they're not the majority.
I wasn't thinking of gay marriage.
Well, but anything, well, at least in America, everything is 50-50, right? We have like 50% liberal, 50% conservative. So it's nobody's the majority. So, yes, in America, and then 50% conservative. First of all, how many of those conservatives are gay, practice adultery, do drugs, all these different kinds of things? How many of them are not even Christian on top of that? How many of them are just, don't take those types of matters very seriously? How many of them are just in the Republican Party because for finances, and they're libertarian and they don't care if you're gay or if you're this or if you're that or whatever? And you know what I mean? It's just it's they're not the majority in America. Anyone who would post something, not liberal in America is not the majority, and they're scared to post it because they know they're not the majority. I think if people realize that 90%. Look, if in America we didn't have gay marriage because 90% of people were against it, people would be posting homophobia.
Well, perhaps they weren't thinking of it properly,
Well, they lost control. I was just reading Gen Z. One out of every six Gen Z, one out of every six Gen Z people is gay or LGBTQ, and 2 out of 3 Gen Z are concerned about the welfare of gay rights. So, I mean, even though Gen Z is not yet taking over, they're the growing population. And, so it's definitely shifting. It's not getting worse, though there's an uptick in homophobia. I was just reading, like, amongst Hindus, in America, younger Hindus are more homophobic than.
Yeah, I mean, there's an uptick in all the, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, um, you know, all the pillars of Globo Homo. Because, people, I think, have finally worked out that, all these things are linked to what God, if he exists, has forbidden. No.
Well, no,
So,
I mean, yeah, I mean, they're just scared of everything. I mean, I don't like when they equate, gays and Jews and Muslims all together, like, it's all one system coming in. If you're a white right person, you're going to be against Islam, Judaism, and gay people, which, is a little bit, I mean, it's kind of like those don't really go together, do they? You know what I mean? And to say that, the gay agenda and the Muslim agenda are united is a little bit of an odd statement, isn't it? Don't you think?
the gay agenda and the Muslim agenda.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in the sense that they are minorities, but people
Yeah,
are not thinking like that now. People are thinking, well, maybe we should be more principled. Maybe we don't just want to be minorities. Maybe we should, actually think about the principles of what we as a group stand for.
yeah, I know that Muslims are becoming more religious in the West, and they're becoming more homophobic and stuff like that. They always say that the recent immigrants are a little bit more liberal than their children are.
Yeah, I mean, I think I should recommend LinkedIn because there is a lot of politics there, and I think increasingly people are saying, well, I might as well put my money where my mouth is, and LinkedIn is the place to show that you mean business because you can't post anonymously.
You can't, or you can.
You can't.
What, do you have to show them your ID to prove who you are or something?
Um, well, in my case, I had to because they were going to kick me off, and unless I gave them my ID, which I did, so I can post now. And it's the same for Facebook. Did they ever ask you to do that?
To send in my ID?
Yeah.
Yes, but only because of hacking. But no, they never told me like to do it to prove who my account was. I had to prove it because I had been hacked.
Oh right, but anyway, they insisted. So I thought, yeah, I still want to post what I want to post, and at least I know it's me. Um, so I think people are more prepared, and LinkedIn because it's there to, well, it's a job seeking website, right? So if people do it there, then it's taken more seriously than people shitposting on Facebook. Although I remember, some time ago somebody on LinkedIn saying, I do wish people wouldn't, it seems that some people here think, LinkedIn is Facebook. But I think it's a good way of showing that you mean business. And you get more intelligent responses too. You're not on LinkedIn, are you?
No, it's very hard for me. I'm not into, it's like, when I was younger, it was just Facebook. Like when I was very young, it was just AOL, and everyone had
Mm.
AOL, and everything was AIM, and there really wasn't anything else, and everyone used the same thing. And you know, then it was MySpace, and there really wasn't anything else. I mean, there was AIM and MySpace, but now, like, AIM disappeared, and then it was Facebook, but now it's like everything. I mean, it's Discord, it's Telegram, it's Snapchat, it's Instagram, and everyone has all these different accounts. I don't like flipping between 5 million accounts a day and having all these apps on my phone, and I find it annoying.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's just, the nature of the beast. You get this sort of thing where everybody goes, and then it gets, and then it starts kicking people off, and, people have to go somewhere else. But, um, I'm just sort of making a few recommendations because I find, there's a different culture in different social media platforms, and they have a different way of communicating and different protocols, and yeah, and unfortunately, I guess if you're a political activist, you need to familiarize yourself with them in order to spread your message or show people you mean business.
Oh,
But you okay? I mean, well, what am I trying to say? I guess I'm trying to say that um, we should make our message as universal and formal and respectable as possible, and social media platforms that show that they expect people to express themselves in formal English is better than, shit posting on, in the live chat.
Yes, I know. It's just, when you can't get, I can't anymore. It is disappointing, Claire, and it's very disappointing. And I mean, I don't know if
Did I
it's.
tell you Thomas Barton Rees says he'll come on Karani U?
Yeah, so he's very against you, right?
Yes. But I hope we'll be able to bury the hatchet. And I think he does want to explain his ideas about, I don't know, his proof of God or something of that nature.
Oh, God. Proof of God. That's not a stream that I want to fucking. I mean, I'll listen to. I didn't listen to the whole thing between him and Stephen J. James. He's okay. He's still like an alt-right loser, but I mean, he's a little bit above the rest. You know what I mean? He's like a little bit more put together, and that's not saying much. Someone who doesn't have a job and lives with their parents, and you know, um,
They're all like that. So he said, "I'll appear on your show, but just tell me why you been posting so many insults about me." I mean, he probably feels a little betrayed because he did, invite me on his show, and I told him, why I was angry and disappointed. I said, in the whole of the UK, he's actually the most high status person in a dissident right in that he dares to show his face. He had a job. He has a STEM degree. He's obviously quite talented in his own way. But he's. And I said I thought I thought you were faking your mental illness in order to get the in order to have plausible deniability. And I thought, well, that it is a sign of cowardice, and that was what I was having a problem with. And oh yeah, the other thing is that nobody can disagree with me, or I will lose my I will have a meltdown. So of course nothing can be discussed then if nobody can disagree with him. So I gave a list, pretty quickly, and when the question was asked.
okay. Well, yeah, that's still sad if he's the best thing that you're gonna get on your channel.
Oh, you're the other. You're the other best thing.
Yeah, well, I don't really count amongst them, and obviously, I'm not very.
You can't because you're American, which makes you more high status than being British.
I know, but what I'm saying is I'm not really one of the alt-right. I mean, they don't really accept me, and I'm not like, a big voice in that. I mean, people know who I am, but they're more like, disgusted than they are, anything else. And I get hate views, I get hate viewing.
Watchers. Well, I mean, who do you think it is a voice of the dissident right?
I mean,
halfway admire.
Nobody. I mean, at this point, yeah, the highest person, even though I've only listened to him for 15 minutes, is Thomas Barton Rees. I mean, he seems to be. I respect him so far from what I've read or saw more than Nick Fuentes. And, I know there's Richard Spencer, but look, I know Richard Spencer.
Stephen admires him. I mean, it's like, how could you do that? He has no principles. Richard Spencer has no principles. And Stephen admires Richard Spencer for having no principles.
Why does Richard Spencer have no principles?
Because, okay, he said hail Trump, and then And then the next thing he did was, oh, I would love to write the speeches of Andrew Yang. And the next thing he said was, I support, vote Democrat. And the American imperium must continue, and we must accept immigration, and he's just cucking to all the establishment orthodoxies, and Stephen is fine with that. I guess because Richard's such a pretty boy.
1 second.
He's obviously printing something out. So Max Damien says, you could go on I have been on Politically Provoked. There's this really dim woman who basically just read me a list of questions and didn't even understand my answers and just went on to read the next question. That was so disastrous, and I'm sure that they've just deleted that channel, that stream now. I think I can find it for you if you want, but I mean, it was very disappointing. So we live in an age without heroes. I'm afraid, Vincent, that we're the only heroes. It's us.
I know. Which is horrible, and then there's nobody to save, is there?
Yeah, I think we'll still have fun continuing to shame them. That a racial foreigner who is female and a gay man who's been married for a decade, you say, are shaming them. And there's nothing they can say to say, oh, you got it wrong, when we're not guilty, we're actually very courageous and principled men who deserve to have progeny. They can't say that, can they? They have no answer. That's why they won't talk to us, other than to shitpost. And that's why they sort of think, oh, nobody's going to marry us, so we're not even going to ask, and therefore we're just going to, we're just going to die out.
Thomas Barton Reese isn't even planning to have children, right?
Yes. I mean, yes, it is true that he's not planning, because, Stephen was saying, oh, I'm sad, and he's saying, oh, my legacy will be my paper on proof of God, or something like that. That will be his legacy.
So is he like totally MGTOW, like no women, no kids, like just die a monk? Is that his?
I think he probably, manages to, get laid every now and then, but it doesn't result in a long-term relationship. And maybe he doesn't want it to be a long-term relationship. Oh yes, and one of the things he complained about was, he would try to pick a woman up in some singles bar, I suppose, and then he would, talk about the things he wants to talk about, and then people would look at him funny, and the women would just sort of, make their excuses and go. I think that was what he said to Stephen. But hopefully, Karani, you might clear up a few things. I for some reason, I'm optimistic because I'm getting people who I'm getting a few regulars, shall we say, and also new people who I think might not have wanted to do it before, but want to do it now, which I think is good. Because I think increasingly they kind of want to, say what's on their mind and be listened to.
Claire, I'm gonna go because I'm so tired and I want to take a nap.
All right.
All right.
Have a good nap.
You too.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.